Welcome to Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior. I am Pei-I. I'm a parenting and teen challenging behavior specialist at Rainbow Parenting Practice. Over the last 30 years, I've worked with children, teenagers, and then families with various complex needs across different settings. But it is my personal story, being a troubled teenager, that led me to the creation of my innovative parenting method, Thriving Together Parenting Method. It can help you and your teen to have a more loving, respect-driven relationship and the happiness and harmony in your family home in 90 days. No matter what challenging behavior it is, how challenging it has been, and for however long your family has been in a difficult place. Many families came to me when they were in crisis or at breaking point. My TTP method is the secret to their transformative family lives. It can be yours too. I am thrilled for you to be here, and that possibly means you are a successful but stressed out parent who is managing a very demanding job but struggling to know what to do and how to help your troubled teen who is stuck in patterns of challenging behavior. You're fed up with trying everything, but nothing works. You're looking for solutions yesterday and are determined to do whatever it takes to help your teen and family thrive. At Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior, I will share all the insights I've learned from working with families and their teenagers over the years. I will not hold back. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome. This is Pei-I. I am your host, and we have Belle, our co-host. So thank you for joining in or tuning in wherever you are today. And today, Belle and I are going to crack on straight away. So Belle, why don't you?
Pick a card. Okay.
Yeah, we're doing the cast. Oh, by the way, we're doing the cast today. Let me explain again to the audience. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, Belle and I have a set of cards that we draw on the day right now, and then we just talk about it. So nothing is scripted, nothing is cut or edited. So you'll be very raw. So let's see, Belle, shall we? I look forward to today's topic though, because the last time we recorded, that was like a week ago or something. It feels so long.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I do miss this chat. Very good. Right, ready? By the way,
stop.
Okay. Oh, maybe I'm manifesting this. So this one is so angry.
Oh, right, okay.
Like so angry. Do you know what's so funny, Belle? Because you know how I like do a lot of videos, I write a lot of posts, and before I actually got on the call today, I was thinking maybe I should tell Belle that I want to talk about aggression. But I was like, no, let's just let it go and draw the cards and see how it goes. So I think this may be just
it must be
linked to what I was thinking. But you know, he's listening to me.
Yeah.
You know, so what's in your head? What's in your mind about this? Look at this. It's so angry. It's really angry.
Yeah, I mean, just anger just seems like aggression.
But it's okay. We can still I mean, I suppose that it can lead to aggression, isn't it? If you don't know how to control your anger. And then also thinking about aggression doesn't necessarily mean it's physical. It could be verbal as well.
That's a good point. So are we thinking of it as physical aggression or the leading up and that, or what are we thinking about?
Why don't we go one step forward to think about anger first? Because I think the byproduct of anger or other feelings can contribute to aggression too. But I think it is when you're struggling to manage that feeling can lead one to do all sorts. So think about teenage anger. What sort of things make teenager angry? What sort of things made you angry in the past or now?
I think there was lots of like microaggressions, like lots of small things building up, which I've talked about before, about how I would sort of get annoyed at things and stuff, that small things. But I think Yeah, lots of small sort of microaggressions towards my parents, especially. I think I was more angry towards, or a lot of anger came up from stuff in like the past, and like everyone was angry. Like I know my friends did the same thing, where everyone kind of just, I think when you're a teenager, you're just a bit angry, like you are. But yeah, I think towards my parents majorly, and I sort of, it was a feeling that I was like, didn't really understand. So
That's a really good point, because I think teenagers do struggle to recognize their feelings, because the emotional brain is the last few parts to be developed. So it's hard for you for any teenage children to process, actually, I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like this. But I suppose, like you say, there could be a lot of anger towards a lot of things, not just necessarily parents. I'm just thinking about when I was a teenager. I think I was angry at a lot of things, the teachers in school,
yeah,
my friends as well. I'm like, no, I was angry at the fact why I didn't have many close friends, or
yeah,
why my so-called friends were
uh-huh.
doing stupid stuff, and you can feel really angry at the world, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like when you're a teenager, you are just quite angry, I think, at lots of things. And like I remember in school, if teachers would like pull me up about work and stuff, I never like I never like reacted to it with aggression, but in my head I got angrier as a result of it and would just get annoyed. But I think it's because when you're a teenager, like you view your feelings more like narrowly. Like you don't sort of like, if I was angry, I wouldn't sort of look at the bigger picture of why I was angry, or like look at why I might be feeling that way. I just sort of felt it in the moment and like reacted to everything in the moment, because you do that when you're a teenager. So that's why I'm on about microaggressions, because it was all just bursts of it for a long time, rather than, I mean, there was some build up, and it's different, but yeah, I think because when you're a teenager, you view things so impulsively that when you do feel anger, it is more impulsive. Probably that means it's less controlled as well, if we're talking about aggression.
And I suppose then the next thing is like, how do you manage the anger? And I know, like, we take our feelings out on the people who are closest to us. Even like myself, I'll be like, take it out on my husband.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. Why didn't you put the dishes away? Never about the dishes, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy to do that, especially teenagers will do the same thing to their parents as well, because it's like the closest person they feel safe to be able to have a tantrum, or be snappy, or be rude, or be disrespectful. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's likely to happen because that control is not there. Like you're saying, it can be quite impulsive and can be quite reactive. So have you ever actually been aggressive towards your parents or anybody? Like,
Not physically towards my parents, but my sister, yes,
like
many times.
verbally or physically?
Well, both.
Ah,
I've
did you guys fight?
Yes, but I've definitely been verbally aggressive to my parents.
So what will be okay, let me pause here. What will be the definition of verbal aggression for you?
I would say verbal aggression, it's different to anger in the way that it's like just so harsh. I would say like aggression is so like harsh and like almost, it's like taking things too far. It's like scary almost. I feel like aggression is like, whereas anger might just be voicing how you're feeling and you're just built up and you feel angry about it. But aggression's like just being unnecessarily horrible, or like saying something personal, or trying to get a reaction out of someone. Like it's more like sort of sinister anger, I would say. That makes sense.
Okay. I suppose the aggression I see very often in the families or teenage children I work with in the past and now is, it really covers a big range. But then the reason I'm asking you, because how everybody define and sees aggression is very different.
Yeah.
And for me, like the verbal aggressions that will be just like even raising your voice, shouting at your parents, swearing at them. Like seriously, I've seen teenagers swearing and calling their parents every single name under the sun.
Yeah.
Like it's that outrageous, and then
Hmm.
cussing them, I wish you die, or
Hmm.
or F off, all the things that was really, really bad. And that was real, it's like way past being rude.
Yeah,
Like, so
exactly.
then that's like the verbal aggression side. And the physical aggression, I suppose, is easier for parents and teenagers to see, isn't it? Either you
Yeah.
slam the door, you throw things, or or you try
Oh,
to,
I've definitely slammed the door a lot of times
yeah.
towards my parents, and I definitely also I remember I used to get so angry and so frustrated that I would just throw something, not at them, but just throw something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, if you're talking about aggression, even in terms of just like doing things physically, I thought you meant towards your parents, and obviously I've never like hit my parents or anything.
No,
But
I
yeah.
suppose that's the definition, because you don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to hit someone, but hitting someone is a physical aggression.
Yeah,
Then you can also be very physically intimidating. Like if you,
yeah.
I'm gonna kill you, man.
Hmm. Hmm.
It could happen. And then
Yeah.
verbally as well, you can threaten them. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna stab you if you keep doing this. Right?
Hmm.
That is very scary. So I suppose the definition covers some really mild, when like raising voices to threatening someone, and then physically it could be like, I'm just slamming door, throw things, to actually physically hurting someone. But I also
Yeah.
work with teenagers like punching walls, damaging furniture. I mean, seriously damaging, right? It's like throwing television on the ground,
Yeah.
or the families are always replacing furniture.
Hmm.
And that is like out of control aggression
Hmm.
and anger.
Hmm.
But again, like we say earlier on, not all the time it's anger. Sometimes it's the hurt or sadness, or there's a lot of overwhelming feeling all tangled up. And the teenagers don't know how to work through the challenges and the feelings, and it all came out anger. And then the problem is once you have done being able to swear at your parents, and with nothing or consequences, or the parents don't know what to do, or throwing things, you will continue to escalate.
Yeah.
Because once you've done that, you go, oh, okay. Actually, once I've done that, I feel good. I mean, they might feel bad as well, like, oh my God, this happened again. I was so out of control. But when they're in that moment, seriously, everything was out the window. And that could
Hmm.
be a very, very, very scary thing for parents and for teenagers too. Is that, oh my God, did I actually damage that wall? Did I actually just trash the television or trash the whole place? I mean, I've worked with teenagers actually physically wanting to stab someone.
Hmm.
There was the parents like broken ribs, black eye.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you
You
don't.
know, I want to ask actually because just from listening to you there, I mean, I suppose I'm talking about like aggression in my experiences from a girl's perspective, but I know that aggression and anger is a lot more common in like male
Mm-mm.
teenagers. And I wanted to ask you, like, I know somewhat why that is because I know that they're sort of not encouraged to talk about their feelings, which results in like a build up and of aggression. But I want to ask you, like, is that something you've seen that a
More in
lot
boys.
more, yeah, a lot more boys are like aggressive towards their parents?
Not
Is it not?
necessarily. No, not necessarily. I've seen a lot of
Mm.
girls too.
Oh no, both. I'm talking
Yeah.
about both. But do you think that there's a lot of men, like there's lots of women as well as aggressive? I
Yeah.
mean, I've been aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
but do you think that it kind of looks differently sometimes in like boys to girls
Mm-mm.
based on I don't know.
Yeah, it could look very different. And if you think about boys are physically very strong,
Hmm.
and tall ones, muscly ones, it could be more intimidating than the girls. But I've seen girls trashing the whole house and out of control. It was
Hmm.
just parents like, oh my God, what
Hmm.
happened? And I suppose it's a adrenaline. It's like driving them and just da 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 da. So I think Yeah, but I definitely work with both boys and girls that in that situation. But I
Hmm.
think, yeah, I can't. I have to look at this. Actually, that's a really good question. But I mean, their
Yeah, because
presentation.
I've just heard that a lot, and like when people talk about like how girls and boys deal with their emotions, which is what aggression and anger is, that boys can react to it a bit easier with aggression and stuff because of just how they've been brought up and things. So they don't, girls are more encouraged to talk about their feelings, or I don't know.
Mm,
But yeah, I wanted to ask you in terms of this because.
yeah, it depends though. Some people. Actually, me and your mom spoke about this last time.
Hmm.
Some teenagers externalize their feelings, right?
Hmm.
So that means they will display their feelings through their behavior, either go engage in antisocial behavior or aggressive behavior, or I'm not going to school or whatever. They're telling you actually I am not okay. But
Hmm.
some young people internalize the feelings, and
Hmm.
they don't talk about it, which I think is the one that would be most worried about, because then they're more
Yeah.
likely to cut themselves, to hurt
Hmm.
themselves, don't talk about those feelings. So whereas, I mean, being aggressive is not great, but at least you can see actually my teenage children are not doing okay just now. And those internalize their feelings, don't talk about it, are the ones that, what I'm most worried about.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And
Hmm.
they do, what? The reality is boys and girls do deal with things differently. Boys and girls do worried about things, worried about different things. You might be
Hmm.
worried about your makeup, or
Hmm.
will that boy like me? How do I
Yeah.
look? You know,
Hmm.
or what do I want to dress? The boy might be
Hmm.
thinking about how do I look cool in front of this lassie, or how do
Hmm.
I build my six muscles, or my six pack, or everything. Or the boys could just be so focusing on the sports side of things.
Hmm.
So you're going through the boys and girls are going through something similar yet different, But I think
Yeah.
the common ground is teenagers just struggle with emotions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on, But then the question is that how do you support them and help them to navigate and then manage their feelings so they learn there's other ways to talk about their feelings instead of
Yeah.
like, I'm angry, blah, trash the house.
I want to ask, like, see how you were talking about external and internal feelings. Would you count aggression as external?
I would say aggression is externalizing the behavior, but at the
Mm.
same time, remember passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Somebody make comments, but not
Hmm.
actually directly. I don't like that part either. I feel like
Hmm.
that's really like it's like just give me ugh.
Yeah.
I
No.
feel like if you have anything to say out loud.
Yeah.
So,
I hate people that are passive aggressive. I don't understand
mm-mm.
it.
Yeah, so because I feel like that's
Yeah.
emotional aggression, aggressive.
Hmm.
Like because you're talking about things like done directly, but very aggressively. It's just very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot your question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I asked if you counted aggression as external. So yeah, I think you answered that.
Yeah, I think if you can see the behavior, like, really clearly, I'll be more thinking that will be more externalizing. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then you can think about the self-harming side of things is externalizing differently.
Yeah.
Like they're somebody, yeah, so they,
I mean,
because,
that's almost internalizing because you're doing it to yourself.
yeah, and they just don't want to
So
let people know, you
yeah.
know. But
Well, I don't even know really how to begin talking about what to do about aggression because I wouldn't know how to think of it from a parent's perspective because this isn't something I understand fully. And I don't know how to talk about it from my perspective because I wouldn't know how to deal with it fully. Like I don't really I understand aggression simply that it comes from a built up of emotion,
mm,
but I feel like it's so from my experience, like strictly my experience, aggression is it only sort of went away or I stopped feeling angry and aggressive towards my parents when everything else it just comes hand in hand with everything else, I think.
mm,
But I think aggression is so different for every single person because it could be a result of so many different things. Whereas for me, aggression was just me acting out, or just, quite simply, but it literally could be, someone might have experienced aggression and that's how they've learned to deal with it, or there's so many different reasons. So I don't know how I'd begin
Yeah, it's
to.
really hard, but maybe we can unpick this bit, right?
Mhm.
Well, you've not been in the position of what in the scenarios I just talked about, but we can imagine,
Mhm. Yeah.
we can imagine what that could be like for the young person. We can imagine what's like for the parents. So let's think about what you just said earlier, how they grew up could be one of the reasons. If you are growing up in the community that is full of violence,
Mhm.
you learn that the only way to resolve things is through aggression, or one of the ways to resolve things is aggression. Or if you grew up in a family, you witness domestic violence, or somebody get
Yeah.
beaten.
Well, that's why I was mentioning boys, because I know that from what I've seen, when boys sort of become teenagers in their friend groups, and I'm talking about very like heterosexual, like very sort of men
Mm.
that are in that toxic like community, they sort of like deal with things of aggression verbally and physically. Not all friend groups, but
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of boy friend groups where they'll handle things with aggression, or and that can translate towards girls as well. So,
Mm.
and I'm guessing their parents, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and also
Mm.
there's a lot of hormones, like
Yeah,
driving
exactly.
that as well as like what these crazy feelings I have,
Hmm.
so but definitely the environment could be one reasons.
Hmm.
And we're just thinking about generic, like you say,
Hmm.
every family is different. But before we
Yeah.
think about that, you know what? The violence in teenage, I mean, even in younger children, right, that happens. But it doesn't get to talk about Belle. It doesn't
Yeah.
really, parents don't really come to talk about actually my teenage children are being violent or do this too,
No.
or phoning the police. I mean,
Hmm.
I work with a lot of parents phoning the police because there's just no other way to keep everyone
No.
safe. You need a third person to intervene, an authority to intervene to keep everybody safe. But
Yeah.
parents would be like, if you think about younger children, they'd be like, oh, my 5-year-old hit me and all this thing. They struggle with that, but they can manage that because in the end of the day, it's still a 5-year-old wee boy and girl.
Hmm.
But when it comes to teenagers, like 20, not 20, 12, 13, 14 years old, growing up big boy and girl, being violent and hitting
Hmm.
parents, I think a lot of parents found that quite difficult and
Yeah.
embarrassing. And then they find it like, if I come out to speak about this, there will be a stigma about
Yeah.
how I am as a parent, as to
Hmm.
why I can't help my teenager, or why is my teenager threatening me, punching walls and all these things. So, and I think that's part of the reason why parents don't come out and ask for help or talk.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's why parents like that's probably why it's not talked about as much, because even in the moment with their teenager without anyone else seeing, they probably would feel like not
Yeah,
well, depends on the situation, but humiliated by how their teenager is acting towards them. And yeah, because it is so quite often a reflection of someone's like how they've been brought up or their exterior things, why they're reacting like that, or whatever. So you might feel as like ashamed that you've
yeah,
brought up your child. So that might result in you not wanting to speak to your teenager about it, let alone other people. So yeah,
absolutely.
how would you deal with
With
that?
teenage aggression.
Mhm.
Well, every family is different, but there's some common driving factors that will drive a teenager being aggressive.
Mhm.
And that we talk about environmental factor, like, if the community is violence, it's easily to learn from that. And then also the family, if you witness domestic violence, or even doesn't have to be domestic violence, if you have like people at home are aggressive and that's the only way they shout, scream, throwing things to deal with situation, you're likely to learn that. So this is how
Mhm.
my family resolve issue, how we talk about things. So you will do that. The other thing is the teenagers probably don't have the strategies to cope with the feelings, to talk about the feelings, and the only thing they know how to do is swear, shout, and then throw things or hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So that could be another common factor. And the other one is sometimes the parents, I don't know if you have experienced yourself, like when they are talking and things can get heated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when things get heated, everybody everybody wants to keep going. Nobody stops. Right. So there will be like signs for you to see, like, oh, my teenager is getting worked up. Or actually, as a parent, I can feel I'm getting really worked up here. This conversation is gonna go awry, right? But parents and teenagers don't always pay attention to this. And then you have the idea is I have to get this sorted. I have to, get my point across. I have to put my boundaries in place, and I have to, and then it can just escalate to
Mm-hmm.
something really serious. So it's thinking about how do you pay attention to these early warning signs, and what sort of triggers will trigger the teenage behavior to become challenging or aggressive. But these
Mm-hmm.
are subtle things, right? Parents don't, if you don't know about this, you don't know about this. Because you'll just be thinking, you're not speaking to me like that. You're not going to you're not going to punch another hole in the house, or you're
Mm-hmm.
grounded for 20 years. Not
Mm-hmm.
that it works. But what it does is it just escalates the behavior, because your teenager is also worked up. Why are you grounding me for the rest of the week? Why couldn't I go to the party with my pals? And then it just go on and on. And it could go on for a long, long time. Actually, the longest I've seen is 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Eventually, it's resolved, because when you want to address a behavior that has been entrenched in the family system, and that's how they react and respond and interact with each other, it does take time to break the cycle. But it's possible, because I teach
Mm-hmm.
parents about this. But some of the things could be about the peers. They might be hanging about with peers that also use violence, or they watch their peers and go, oh, that's how you speak to your parents. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
can try that too. So there are many different reasons why you drive the young person or teenager to be aggressive. But definitely the things I teach the parents to do is definitely recognize the triggers and warning signs, because that's the easiest thing you can do to change the whole interaction. If you can see, actually, my teenager is raising his voice or her voice now. Actually, let me pause this. Maybe this is not a good time to speak about this.
Yeah,
No.
definitely.
Or if I'm thinking I am getting worked up now, I was like, right, actually, Belle, let's not speak about this now, because I feel quite angry now. And
That's I think that's like probably I think that's honestly probably the best way to deal with it, because that's just made me remember when I was a teenager, me and my mum got to a point where we were like, if we did get annoyed, but right, now isn't a good time, leave it alone. And then every single time we would end up talking, resolving it.
yeah,
So yeah, I definitely think that the best way to deal with it. I think if I had any advice, I would just say, just step away, because it is kind of a two-person thing. I mean, most of the time, but definitely,
yeah,
every student is different. But it does very much escalate your own anger when someone else is reacting at the same level. And that's just a reaction to your anger, but it does escalate it and makes you, put more on. So yeah.
absolutely. And as a parent, I know it's really, really hard, but you are the one that can actually stay in control and change the course of how that episode of aggression could be managed. Because if you
Mhm.
can recognize, actually, I'm getting worked up, he's getting worked up, or she's getting worked up, then actually we can just divert, distract, and then come back to it some other time. But I'm not saying using the simple strategy would be enough, but it's something you can do very easily. And the
Yeah.
other thing the parents also can think about is, if my teenager only know how to throw things and shout and swear to talk about their feelings, what other strategies can they actually learn and use in those moments to express themselves? And that's a skill that needs to be learned, right? And then not teenagers, all teenagers know how to cope with their feelings. Like, I don't know what you do, Belle, when you get frustrated. Do you listen to video? Do you read books? Do you go for a walk? Do you watch Netflix?
I if I get frustrated or angry, I've learned over the years that the best thing for me is I will have a shower
Mhm.
and do my little nighttime routine of skincare and stuff, and maybe like just get in bed all cozy with like pajamas and watch something. Yeah, literally that's the best thing for you to do.
Exactly, right? So that's it. So you learn, you got the strategies when you're in those moments, right, I'm gonna go for a shower, I'm gonna go for a
Mm-hmm.
walk to
Mm-hmm.
regulate yourself. And then when you're
Yeah.
coming back down, then you can speak about this.
Yeah.
That's the same thing because if the teenagers don't know other strategies, they'll just keep throwing at things or cussing at you. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to teach or think about, actually, you know what, when you get angry, what do you think sort of things you can do instead of throwing things, instead of trashing the house, instead of being aggressive? Because that is really not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So these are the things the parents can think about with the teenage children and practice them, even when the most important thing is when they're not angry. Practice them, not when they're angry, because that is too late.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
need to practice those things to like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know what, why don't we do this together? I have like teenagers like singing. They just walk
Mm-hmm.
away and sing,
Mm-hmm.
or they watch 10 minutes or listening to radio audiobook for a wee while and they go, right, but it's a skills that need to keep learning and practice and practice. So they,
Yeah.
in that heat of moment, they can actually pause their brain, go, I don't have to trash the house. I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes I will ask the parents to actually need to think about consequences and put consequences in place
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, so I get to swear at you, I get to trash the house, but nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's another cycle. It's like if I keep trashing the house and you keep replacing it, so what the teenagers learning is, so I can keep doing this then because nothing,
Mm-hmm.
there's no
Mm-hmm.
consequences for
Mm-hmm.
me as a teenager,
Yeah.
but these need to be all well thought through with each family because every family circumstance is different. You might have other family members. See, when you and your mom is having a row or whoever is escalating, Maya could be coming and go, Belle, blah, 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 or mom, blah, blah, blah. Then it could escalate the situation again. So there's a lot of things to think about, but definitely
Yeah.
encourage the parents to think about the triggers and the warning signs and what sort of the steps can you put in place to recognize those signs and then just pause because you're teaching your children how to regulate by pausing, and then think about what strategies you can help your teenager to think about in those moments. There'll be
Yeah.
the best two things parents can think about it just now.
Mm-hmm.
you know so on this Nobel, we talk about aggression, and I have so many stories to share about the teenagers that I work with
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
parents. Really, really, a lot of them. Like, have I seen like teenagers who got hold of a butter knife or a
Mm-hmm.
knife or a hammer, like threatening to hurt their families?
Mm-hmm.
It's to that extent. But
Mm-hmm.
the good news is for the parents is it really can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Your teenagers and you can be supported to do things differently, to help your teen to manage the behavior, manage the feelings, and use other strategies to tell you how they're feeling instead of going through the aggression. And you need to think about, well, you're constantly in this cycle. It's actually there's a lot of rupture in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about you being a parent and go, my son swears at me again today, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't repair the rupture, I've seen a lot of parents and the kids, and the teenager, the relationship deteriorates,
Mm-hmm.
continuously, they're driven apart further and further, and it got even worse. So it's really important to think about how you can, as a parent, support your teenagers, and how can you help your teenager to think about this. But you know what? We can't cover everything, so we can come back this to part two because there's really a lot of really good story to share to let the parents know you're not alone. There's a lot of parents out there actually struggling with a teenager's aggression, and it's real. It's as real as anything. Children violence to parents are real, right? We just don't talk about very often. So now, thinking about this, Belle, we're going to finish this episode, and I hope that is the audience find that helpful. What would you want to be the parents or the teenagers to be curious about this? About anger or about aggression?
I'd encourage teenagers to, when they're in that height of like aggression or anger, to develop, like you said, a routine, and to actually just separate. Even if in the moment you feel like, oh, I'm letting them win or I'm letting them get away with this or whatever, like just step away,
Mhm.
deal with it, calmly, like in your head, like have a shower. Even if you don't feel calm, just force yourself, just have a shower. Do it. Well, that's just sometimes about what I do, but do whatever makes you, reset yourself a little bit, and then actually just think about maybe why you're angry, why you're reacting like that, and try and either decide that it's not even worth being angry about, or it's not worth talking about, or decide to go and try and resolve that issue. Cameron,
you highlighted a very important point, Belle. There is about that mindset where you just say it's like I'm letting them win or I'm letting him win if I don't do certain things, and that usually escalates the student a lot because then you're telling yourself I cannot back down. This is a battle that I have to win this, right? But being able to reframe that to yourself is really helpful because it's not about winning. It's about how we can communicate, problem solve, and help your teenage children, or help, or repair the rupture, whatever that is. That's a really good point. I suppose maybe my curiosity would be for the parents in terms of, and the parent, I mean, it's understandable, right? Because when you see a problem, you want to find a solution. And then you want to use that solution to solve the problem. However, a lot of parents struggle in using a lot of parenting strategies because we haven't thought about what is really driving the behavior. And we briefly talk about a few reasons that is driving teen aggression. But if you think, see, it's a little bit like you go to the doctor. I have a headache, but they gave me a cream for my foot. It's like, you got acne feet, so here's your cream. But it's about having a headache, right? So you're treating different things. So it's really important I want to encourage the parents, and you can invite your teenage children as well to think together, be curious together. What is really driving this aggressive behavior at home? Because behind every behavior, there's a need, there's a feeling, and it's a form of communication. So you can figure out, be curious together. So what is really driving the behavior? What is the things that I'm doing right now as a parent that contributing and maintaining this behavior at home? Is it about, I just don't let go? Like your mindset, I just want to win. My kid will not speak to me like this. I need to be assertive of my role, regardless he's already shouting, trashing the house. I still want to keep going. So there are many things the parents can think about from their perspective. What are they doing? What are they thinking? How they're feeling? That is keeping the behavior going. And then you can think about what the teenagers' perspective. What do you think is going on here? Like of strategies to talk about feelings. So just be curious about everything really. I think to keep keep aggression going. So then you can find the right strategy to tackle each factor. Speaking about this, I just talk about my framework there, Belle. It's actually a map, but we won't talk about this. We'll talk about it next time. But I want viewers to be curious about this.
Okay.
Yes. Right. So thank you, audience, and thank you for tuning in. I hope you find this helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to the show so more parents can find our show more organically, and maybe I should give them a premiere. We do have special guests coming to the show in the future, so hopefully you'll join us. Stay tuned and see you on the next episode. Bye. Thank you to everyone at home or on the go for listening. If you find this show helpful, please hit that follow or subscribe button. It does wonders for the show, so more people can find Teen Talk navigating teen challenging behavior organically. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, please drop me a line at pei@teentalkpod.com. That is PEI @teentalkpod.com. I read every email I get. Whether that's an episode idea, a guest recommendation, or just a simple note about how the show has impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. I am Pei-I, and I'll see you on the next episode.